All right, hello bubblers. So this is just gonna be a I don't know, kind of a random video, but probably not real professional. I'm just gonna be walking through it real time, and just with all the hullabaloo this weekend with bubbles pricing, and a lot of people talking about looking at other options. I thought it might be useful to create a video that just kind of explains really what it looks like, or shows what it looks like to actually use Bubble as a front end, and uh, in this case we're going to use Xano as a back end. So just to kind of give those of you, I know there's probably a lot of people who really don't really understand like what's the difference between the front end and the back end. I was there my early days of bubbling, and yeah, so hopefully this video helps. I'm just going to build a little simple to-do app, and we'll have a little sign-in screen, and we're going to sign into Xano, as our backend, and then we'll just set it up so you can create to-dos and delete them at a user level, right? So you'll get to see kind of how those endpoints are set up, and everything in Xano. So yeah, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and jump in, and I think just kind of start, if you're kind of wondering like what part of a bubble app are we talking about when we're talking about like moving a backend off of Bubble and using Bubble as a as a front end only, which it can be done very very easily and work well. So really, if we look here, we have you got all your tabs here. We have our design tab, we have a workflow tab, data. So everything in here is going to stay, but really, when you're thinking of moving the backend off of Bubble, this data tab pretty much goes away. So you would use option sets if you wanted to populate drop downs, but really you wouldn't use anything inside this tab. So workflows, you're still going to be using this workflow. And in fact, let me do something real quick here, because I have a test extension going on or installed here, and it's going to make the Bubble editor look different. So I'm going to just refresh this so it looks like you're used to seeing it. Yeah, so workflows on your page itself, you're going to you'll still use that tab, but well, I don't have backend even turned on here. So let's see. Oh, it's under API. So really, this enable workflow API and backend workflows, you wouldn't even turn that on. So that gives us this possibility of going into backend and building workflows in the Bubbles backend. But if if you're building your backend in Xano, you're not going to even turn that on, so you won't use that. So really, you're not going to have that backend tab, and you're not going to use anything inside this data tab. So, all right, let's go ahead and just going to jump back here onto the index page. Actually, let me go back in this data tab because I have some things in here. I'm just going to delete them out. Hopefully that didn't cost too many workload units. And here, I'm just going to delete that. We can't delete the user. The user is a given in Bubble. So let's see. Okay, we have a I'm just going to be on the index page, and I'm going to build two groups here. One's going to be a logged in group, one's going to be a logged out group. And then, yeah, we're just going to walk through this, how you would set this up from the beginning. So I'm just going to build the UI here real quick, and it's not going to be pretty necessarily, but it'll show you how this works. So I'm just going to make the page aligned to parent, And then I'm going to drop a group on here, and let's make this a column. I'm going to take that width off, and we're not going to do fit to content. We want that to go full height. Let's just call this group logged in. Right, and then I'm just going to Command C, Command V, create a new group there, and you can see you just have a group logged in copy. I'm just going to change this to be group logged out, and let's just make sure collapsing doesn't really matter because we're on line to parent, but I like to do it anyway. And then I'm just going to make both of these invisible by default. Perfect. All right. So let's work in the logged in group here, and I'm actually going to just drop another group right here in the center. This will be a column. Let's put it in the center, and then this will be group sign up, and grab an input. We're going to drop it in another. I need to see my borders. Where's my borders? Show out my borders. There we go. So we'll just say input sign up email. Let's make this a type email, and we'll just say email. Perfect. Take the fixed width off. We'll leave the height on it. That's fine. And actually, let's just give this. Let's give the group itself some gap spacing, so we don't have to do this every time. All right. I'm just going to again control Command C, Command V, copy that down. This will be our sign up password. Let's make this password as our placeholder, and then so we'll make that a type password as well. I'm actually just going to drop this right into the center. Oops, no, just to here. We're going to put this in the center of the page, and then let's put a button here, and it's going to be sign up. Just take that off. And I could have done all this. Probably should have kind of pre-configured some of this, but it's too late now. We're building now, so all right. Then I just drop a text underneath sign up that says log in instead. Let's take our min width off to fit the content. Let's make that 0, and then let's just put this thing in the middle, and let's give our group a 0 min height, and it's going to give it some padding. Let's make it a little bit pretty here, so let's put 24 all the way around, detach that style, and go 8 border, do a solid line, and yeah, cool enough. All right, that looks fine. And okay, so we have a sign up, so let's go ahead and just again, Command V, Command C. We're going to make this our login. Let's say it's going to be login email. Login password. And login button. Let's change the name of the button login. Let's call this text sign up instead. I should need to change the text on that, don't we? We sign up instead here. Make do the same thing here. Buttons, sign up. So, and this doesn't really matter for a test app, but I find it really good practice to just do things the same way all the time. Like, make it, even if it's doesn't really matter. It's good practice so that you don't kind of get in the habit of skipping over it. Okay, so I'm just gonna put on this login group. I'm just gonna put a state here, and we're just gonna keep it simple, and I'll call it sign up. Well, this is not what I would do if I was if I was actually building out the full functionality here. Right after I say, like, do things the right way every time. But if you build out full functionality, you'd have password reset, and you need to be able to show multiple views here in a dynamic way. So I'm just going to say sign up, yes, no, and I'm going to set this to yes as a default, and then I'm going to give this do group logged in sign up is yes. Then we'll make this visible. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to say group sign up is no. Then we'll make the group login visible, and that's just an easy way to show one group or the other. Again, not the way it's set up, for a real app on that one. Login. Let's just say we're going to run a workflow here. Set state of an element. This will be group logged in. Sign up, and we're going to say no because we want to go to the login view. And let's just copy that state action over, and so this would be actually yes. So, all right, let's preview this real quick. Okay, so we're not going to preview that real quick. It's still loading. Let's go ahead and maybe we did load something here. Oh, I know what happened here. This group login is not visible because we made that invisible. So let's go ahead and just set that to be visible on page load, and we'll change that. No, we didn't make these invisible. Okay. Wow. Okay. Let's fix this. We should see. Okay, so we can see sign up, email, password, sign up. We can log in instead, sign up instead. All right, perfect. So we have that functionality working properly, and we have this group logged in set up. We don't have a conditional yet because we haven't installed the plugin to manage that. But we'll do that here in just a second. So let's just hide group logged in. We'll pull up group logged out, and let's just drop a repeating group in here, and we'll give that line to parent. We don't have a type of content for this yet. I'm not going to set a fixed number of rows, and we'll just say minimum height. Let's keep it at 45, so we have something to work with for now. And we can put this into the middle, and let's just give it a actually I'm just going to take that fixed width off. We don't need a minimum width on it, and I'm going to put it inside another group here. So we'll do a column container, and we'll give this max width of 400. So we'll put a little text at the top. It says to-dos. Perfect. And let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, that works. Don't like the min height on that, so let's take that out. Let's let this extend all the way. Right, so we have our repeating group, and let's actually just drop a group here. We're going to do this, let's name this. So this is going to be our group to-dos, container group there. That's going to be column. We should give this a row gapping as well. Let's say 24. And then this group is going to be group add to-do. And let's make it a row. We'll let that extend all the way out. And let's put an input in here. Input add to do. And type it to do. Perfect. And then to the right of that, I'm just going to drop a button. It says add. We'll call that button add to do. Give it a layout of, we'll just spawn this off, give min width, width to content, and let's say 48 on this. So I should give a gap spacing over the column here. Right, that works. Actually, going to stretch these out, and let's take the max width or the fixed width off of the input. Alright, that works. I'm going to take the max height off of this group. And, okay, cool. So we have, in fact, let's just put that group. We'll just give it a little bit of top margin here. So it's not sitting right at the top of the page, but it says my to-dos. I think to-do is one word, isn't it? Something, my todos. Anyway, that works. So my to-dos, you know, when you type a word, sometimes it's like, or even like you say a word, all of a sudden it feels like you're just saying it wrong. That just feels like I'm typing that wrong. But anyway, I don't think I am. So okay, so we have our repeating group that we're going to show we're going to show our to-dos in. Let's just drop a piece of text in here, and actually let's make this repeating group a row. Let's say RG to-dos. Okay, we don't have type of content or data source yet. We're going to let that extend all the way out, take the min width off, take the min height off, and let me say cells to do. Right. And let's just grab an icon here. We'll get the trash icon. Doesn't matter, I guess. We'll just leave it like that. Let's give this, let's put that in the center of the cell. We'll put this in the center of the cell. Let's make, let's remove this. We'll make this red. And then that would be our cells to do. We'll be able to delete it with this button. Okay. So we have, and let's actually just make this visible so we take a quick look at it. Okay, so parent element is visible. I'll make that one invisible. Okay, let's just do a quick preview. Okay, so my to-dos, type of to-do, add, and then we have our repeating group with no data in it. We're going to fix that in just a minute. So we'll close out the to-dos, and we're going to pull this sign up back in because we're going to need that in a second. But so let's go into plugins, and have no plugins installed right now. We need to install two. So the first one we're going to install is the Xano connector. So we'll install that. and then we need the API connector. So let's install that. All right, perfect. So in the API connector, we are going to create the data types that we're going to show on the page, right? So this is going to be the data that we're retrieving from Xano, or our external backend. So I'm just gonna just call this a virtual data type. I'll just say virtual data, and it doesn't none of this matters. Authentication doesn't matter here in this API group. My camera's in my way, I can't see the expand. All right, we'll just call this to do. So that's going to be our to do data type. And let's say manually enter API response. And so what do we need? We're going to build our JSON here for this to do. So really all we're going to have is we're going to have an ID, and that's going to be a number. You know, that's how Xano will return that. And then we will have the text of the to-do, right? So that's going to be a string, and that's really it. I mean, you could return more, but you know, for what we're building here, it doesn't really matter. So let's just hit the save button, and we'll set this to number. And it's going to be text. And just, by the way, if you are using Xano connector, setting the ID value that's being returned for the actual Xano will return that as a number. This has to be set to a number on that for the ID of the record that's being returned. All right, so let's hit save, and now we have this virtual data type over here, and we can go back in and we have installed the Xano. We've installed the Xano connector plugin. So we're going to want to get this Xano query element, and you'll see why I made the main page aligned to parent, because I want to be able to just drop this in here and not have it impact either one of our like logged in or logged out pages. So we're going to drop this in here, and I'm just going to say Xano query to do, and then the data type is going to be to do right here. So this is referencing this to do that we set up in the API connector. All right, we don't have an endpoint for it yet, or a group URL parameter, but let's say we're actually, well, we'll set that up in Xano first. But what we can do now here in our group logged in is we can act, oh, sorry. Did I get these backwards? I think I did. Yeah, group logged out should be group logged in, because that's, dear God. Okay, so group logged in, and then I built this sign in into the logged in group, group logged out. This is just the way I name stuff. Like it, you can name it however you want, but it needs to be named in a way that actually references it properly. All right, so we do our group logged in. So this is what will be shown when the user is logged in. And now we can go into our repeating group, and we're going to say type of content is to do, and the source of it is actually going to be, we're going to find the Xano query to do, and it's going to be Xano query to do's data, right? And now inside here, we can get this sales to do text, and we'll say current sales to do text. All right, perfect. So we haven't set anything up in Xano yet, but we are ready to receive the data as soon as we're ready to, as soon as we have it set up to bring it in. So let's go ahead and jump into Xano, and I'm inside an instance that I have here. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new workspace, and we'll just answer these questions. Oops. Let's just say developer, and other demo video. Perfect. All right, let's say get started. Workspace name is going to be, we'll just call this bubble demo. And, oh, they're asking about front end. We don't. We're just going to start fresh with Xano. We don't have any other data we want to bring in. So, Xano will automatically set up your user for you. I recommend leaving this user here. And then let's go ahead. We're going to add a to-do table as well. And we'll leave this checked so that Xano automatically creates the endpoints to create and delete and access this data. So this is just to put it in bubble language. This is like going here into the data type and typing in a new type and hitting create, right? Same thing here. Just be like typing to do and hitting create. We're creating a new data type. We're creating a new table here. All right, let's hit continue. And I'm just going to skip those for now. I'm going to say the user table contains the users, and we're just going to log them in with an email. And we'll say review. Perfect. So this all looks good, and we'll create the workspace. All right, perfect. Let's get rid of the quick starts, and now let's go ahead and jump into this directly. So we'll go ahead and jump into the to-do, and we already have the ID here, but let's go ahead and add a new text, and we'll just call this, or a new field, and we'll call this text. And you can see I had to select a type. So we have text, integer. Integer is number, object. And I'm not going to get into a bunch of this stuff right now. Just kind of want to give you an overview of how it looks to actually build, with an external backend. But there's a ton of different fields here, some of which are not available in Bubble, and so it might take some more investigation, learning to kind of understand how to use those. Right now, we're just going to use the text field. So let's just call this text, and as you can say, this is required because without a text, we don't really have a to-do, right? And so this is one kind of nice things. You can set this at that record level. So, and what we're doing here, this is exactly the same as being inside Bubble and clicking create a new field, right? So, you select the type, you name it, and you can say either it's multiple list or not. As you can see, there's a lot more options. So you can make it required, nullable, list, single, public access, and then you have configuration here. So trim is on by default on text, and that just simply trims the white space off each end of the text that comes in. Really super handy, just to kind of force that consistent data structure. But you can configure it in other ways, add different filters, and make sure it starts with certain letters, or there's certain if it's a number, you make sure it's a certain at least a 5, or maybe it's no more than 5 or something like that. So all right, let's just hit save, and now we have a to-do table, has an ID already and has a text column, and that's all we need there. So let's go back, click on database, hit dismiss, and then we'll look at user, and we're just going to get email and password. I'm not going to worry too much about name, but I do have, so the Xano connector has a Gitbook documentation. You can go in, you can see everything we need, using the Xano auth element. You can see sign the user out. We're just sending email, password as required, and then getting the current user. We have this object that we're looking for, and we'll populate these details in Bubble for you if you send it back. If you don't, we're not going to populate them. But I'm not going to be looking for them on what we're building. So the important thing here is that, so we have a user, and we're going to go into our API, and these are API endpoints. So, and an API group is, I mean, it's just a grouping of endpoints. By default, Xano has put them all in, for both the user and the to-do, into a single group. And then there's these three endpoints that are the auth endpoints. So you can see we have sign up, we have login, and we have auth me. So sign up, login, obviously you know what that is as a user. Auth me is really just going to return, get the data from the user. And this is not something you have to worry about too much with the Xano connector because we do it automatically in there. We'll look here and see. So we have our to-do get, that's to get one. Our post, that's going to be to create a to-do. So let's actually go in there. We have input for text. You can see all this has already been created for us. And so that's perfect. We have our endpoint to delete. We have our endpoint to get. Oh, this top one is actually going to be to get all the to-do records. But let's change something in here. So we want to make sure that, I did forget something actually. Let's go into the database, into the to-do, and let's actually do a link back. So we're going to do a table reference, and we're going to reference the user ID. So this is going to be the created by field. So we need that in there. We need that in there so we know that we can get the to-dos just for a specific user. All right, we'll go back into our APIs here, and let's go here into this query all. So let's make this a authenticated endpoint. It means you can only access it, with a logged in user. And then when we query it, save that actually. And then when we get query as a search, right? So query all records, it's the same as do a search for. Let's just make sure we're gonna put a conditional on here, and we're gonna say this to-do user ID equals, and now we have access because we're gonna pass that authentication through for the current user. It comes in this auth object, so we can say auth ID, and that will make sure that we're only returning to-dos that are that were created by the user that is logged in, the current user in Bubble terminology. All right, and then let's actually, so when we add this to do, we're going to make this authenticated as well. We'll save that, and then on this add record, we're actually not going to keep this user ID. But it is part of, so this is a link to like a full table, so we'll just hide it, and that'll take it off of this API endpoint is not expecting the user ID there. But then we add this record into the to-do table, and we're going to do the same thing we do on that where we're getting the data. We're just going to get the user ID from the auth object, and we're going to populate it that way. And that just forces, like, it has to be an authenticated user, and we're getting that user ID from that authentication. No one can pass in, a random ID and, for the data, and then you've got a mix up of who created what data. All right. Okay. And let's publish those. So working in Xano, every change you make has to be published. You can test it, without publishing it, but for it to be live, you actually have to click the publish button. So, all right, we're not gonna set up and edit on the to-do, so we'll leave that as it is. And the user, really, we're not going to be using these user endpoints at all. We're just going to be signing them up, logging them in, and really getting their data from the authentication. All right, but we do need so this group base URL. This is the base URL that references, it's kind of the base URL for this group of API endpoints. So if I want to access, if I want to post to the auth login endpoint, I put this /auth/login at the end of this base URL. The nice thing with the connector is all you have to do is copy that link, and we'll go in here, we'll go into plugins, and we're just going to drop this right here directly on the plugin group URL settings input, and now the plugin will automatically assume these are the endpoints that we're after. So let's on this page just put a Xano auth element here as well. All right, and then that will give us access to some actions. So we'll hide the logged in group, we'll show the logged out group. And first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and put a condition on here. So we can make this visible by default, and then we'll do a condition, and we'll reference the Xano auth element. It will say Xano auth is logged in, is yes. So Xano auth is really, kind of what we use as the current user, trying to use some bubble terminology there as well. So if it's logged in, then the user's been authenticated, user is logged in, and it will say this element is visible, no, right? And so we can copy this, you can copy that condition over then to this other group. And in this case, because this is a logged in group, if the user is logged in, is yes, then we want it to be visible, and we'll say this one is invisible by default. Okay, so we're gonna, let's see, we'll hide that one, and let's just work on this sign up button first. So we'll click there, we'll hit start edit workflow, and we're going to use a plugin action, and let's see here, where did I put it? So there is not login, we're signing them up. Siri's trying to talk to me, hold on. Okay, sign up. So we'll sign the Xano user up via a Xano auth. We'll click on that, and then we're going to use Xano auth here, as we're going to select the element that we're using, and then input, or the email will be input sign up email, because this is a sign up action, and this password will be input sign up passwords value, and that's all we need there. So there is an action when a user is logged in, which triggers on sign up or login. So you could look here in elements, Xano user is logged in, Xano user is logged out. So you could use that to hide or show your groups as well. We're not going to do that, I don't think. I don't have any toast. Well, here, let me throw an alert on here. Let's put this there, and we'll show an alert. So we'll just say when a Xano user is logged in, then we'll show a message in an alert box, and let's change the message and say user is logged in. It's going to be handy just to kind of see what's happening. Let's copy, let's not copy that, let's copy this action, and then we'll also use a Xano user is logged out. We'll paste this in and just say user is logged out. Alright, fantastic. So we have our we'll say user alert, and that works. Okay, so we have our sign up set up, Let's go ahead and click on login. We're going to set up our login, and we'll say log the user in, or log the Xano user in. And again, this is just going to require an email and just the input login password, and that's all we have to do there. So let's actually do one more just in case we have an error here. And Xano auth threw an error. Let's go ahead and put that same alert action. This time we're going to grab the Xano auth's error message. So if an error happens, that will post to the top of the page. But this element will automatically move to logged in, logged out. So we have conditions on our groups here, to show hide based on that condition. And so if we preview this, we should be able to go ahead and sign up now and see how this works. So let's just, before we do this, let's look at the user table. So you see we have no user table here, or do we have no users in our table? So let's go back here and we'll just say this is Johnny@test.com, and give him a password, and let's hit sign up. All right, so we have an error. Input does not mean the minimum length of 8. Xano does have a minimum length of 8 on its password, so you can see there's filters you can set up, directly here on that password field. So let's just jump back over here. We'll do the same thing and see what happens. We'll hit sign up. All right, perfect. Okay, so what we've done is we've created a user using a backend that's not in Bubble. If we look, here in our Bubble database, we have a user data type. We can't get rid of that, but there's no users here. But if we look in our Xano database, now we have this user ID of 1, email Johnny@test, password's obviously hidden, so you can't see what that is. And here we have a a page that we're logged in. And in fact, let's go ahead and just do a quick header on this, because we need some way of seeing what's up there. Alert, we're going to hide you. I'm just going to drop a group up here inside the group logged in. And where did I put this in? Put it in the group logged out, didn't I? We'll make that first. Probably you would use a floating group for this, but we're just going to take that minimum width off, and we're actually just going to give this a fixed height of, say, 75, and text username. And we're just going to we're going to say, in fact, let's clear that. We're going to say, hi, you are logged in with the following email. And then we'll get that email from our Xano auth, which holds all that. And we'll have the email right there. So let's take this fixed width off. Oh, I never need fixed width, just FYI. And we'll give this just a little bit of a heading here. Let's create some padding. And then I'm just going to drop a button here. this header. I just copied it from this add button. I will call this the logout button. Oh, darn it. Let's just take the fixed height off. That works. Okay. We'll set that to be center, and let's just give us a column gap in case it'll get too long so it doesn't run into the actual logout button. On this logout, we're just going to hit start edit workflow, and there's a action here called log the user out, log the Xano user out, and that will log the Xano user out. So, I mean, it's really as simple as that, but hopefully you kind of get an idea of how this works. Like, we're not using Bubble's database, but you can see that we can still have users and all that. So, let's give that header a bottom border so we can see what's there. Appearance. I'll remove that group. So define them. Solid. Perfect. Okay. So we'll refresh this page, and as you can see, now that user is logged in on every page load, like we're checking is this user still authenticated or whatever. So that value will, or that event will be triggered if they're logged in. You see how you're logged in with the following email, johnny@test.com. Let's go ahead and log him out. You see user is logged out, but we don't want to sign up this time. We'll hit login instead, and we'll say johnny@test.com, and we'll try to log in. Invalid credentials, so let's do the other password and log in. All right, perfect. So now we are logged in again as that user, log out, and we can refresh and still see we just have the one user over here. Let's log him out again. We'll go to sign up, and let's just say this is going to be Jill@test.com. Let's sign her up. All right, perfect. So now you can see you're logged in with the following email, Jill@test.com, and we refresh. Now we have another user here in our Xano database. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff now, and let me see why this is actually. Oh, I know why this is pulling in, because we're actually pulling in. We're actually reaching out to get users on this Xano query. So let's go ahead and set up this Xano query now to get the to-dos. So the endpoint we want here is we want to go into our API group, and for our to-dos, let's we're going to query all our to-dos here. So we're going to copy this piece right here, and we're going to paste that here as the endpoint. I'm going to disable these logged in and logged out workflows because they keep running. So, but on this Xano query, and query is just, it's going to get a list of items, right? So we want this to do endpoint. We don't have to populate the group URL. We've already set the URL for this endpoint in the plugin settings, and we don't have to send any data along because we are actually getting the user ID from the authentication of the user. And so if we refresh this, Jill will still be logged in, but you can see there's nothing showing here as a as a to-do for her. So let's go ahead and set up creating the to-do. To do that, hey, the to-do, we're gonna do to-dos. Sorry, it's late, guys and gals. We'll hit the add button. Let's do start edit workflow, and we're going to use a Xano action here. So we'll say let's see if I can remember how to what's the name of my action? Oh, I have to put an element on the page. I knew that too. So there's some things we have to do here that are just really bubble centric. So the reason we have to put element on the page is that we can't return any data from an API call. We can't return any, or really from any kind of action you build in a bubble plugin. You can't return data to the page unless you build it into an element on the page. So the only way we can you do like a post call, API action and actually return the data from the API call that's sent back to us is by putting it inside an element, a bubble element, or a plugin element that we put on the page. So that's why we have that. So let's go ahead and name this Xano action add to do, and then our data type is going to be to do. This just allows us to actually return it. And so we'll go here in our workflow, and now we'll have trigger a Xano action. And so we can look here and we can see this is post. It's going to be a post, and we're just going to send the text along. So we'll need to put this into the build a JSON body that sends this data along. But we need to send it as a post or it won't work. So we'll make sure the method is post, and then again let's just grab this endpoint. We'll copy this here, and then I like to just do JSON net. And we'll go, we'll say text. So that is, right, so we have to pass this here. This is looking for an input of text. And then we'll just do like that. We'll hit validate JSON, make sure it's valid JSON. Yep, it says valid JSON. So now we can just copy this over. We'll paste this right here into the parameters, and what should we name this input? So input add to do. So we're going to use that, and I'm actually going to just remove these two quotes there. We'll say input add to do, it's value, and then we'll use this format as JSON safe. So that will actually that will put double quotes on each side of the value, and it will also put I'm losing my mind, I swear. It'll clean the text up so that if there's any characters that would break the JSON in it, it'll add the backslash in front of it, so that when the plugin is processing, or when anything's processing that JSON, it realizes, hey, ignore this character. Okay, so perfect. So we're going to do add to do. We're going to send this value to this post request, and then let's see if we have a Xano. We're going to say when Xano action returns a response. We don't really actually need that response, but what we're going to say is when it does, then we're going to refresh the data in that Xano query, and that will automatically pull all the new data to populate into this repeating group. So fingers crossed, this should work properly. So let's just say our first to do tomorrow is wake up and smell the coffee. We'll hit add. Boom, there we go. So now we have a to do here in our repeating group called "Wake Up and Smell the Coffee." Now that should have reset that input, but let's just give this a left margin of 12, and same here, just to give us a little bit of a better view. And then, okay, so on this add, so let's say refresh the data, which can say reset relevant inputs, and then set focus to this input add to do. Okay. And now we can go into Xano. And one of the neat things is you can, you've got this request history, so we can go and we can see, hey, here's exactly what happened. We posted, here's the input text, wake up, smell the coffee. This was what was set back. And we can go into our database, click on to do, and we can see we have an ID. So ID 1, text, wake up, smell the coffee. It was created by Jill at test.com. And then, obviously, most important thing, let's log out. And we'll log in as Johnny at test.com. And he should not be seeing this. So I think we did not refresh this this repeating group. And so we'll just say, let's see what happened. We're actually just we'll go into this API. We'll say, and maybe I didn't publish that change. I bet that's do auth. So we received request. User ID. So to do user ID equals. Okay, so it looks like we refreshed that repeating group. But I just want to make sure that that repeating group gets refreshed, and we're going to do this on when a user is logged out. So we're just going to get rid of that alert, but let's say refresh the data for that query when a user is logged out. Now we're just going to go through this process again. Actually, let's put this on a user is logged in as well. Just so that it automatically loads up the data that's necessary. So we'll log Johnny out. Let's log Jill in. Perfect. Okay, so there is Jill's to-dos, and just say go for a fast walk, right? All right, perfect. I did not reset our input though. I need to figure out what's going on with that. I'm gonna figure that out right now. That's bugging me. Button add to do. I thought I added. Oh, here we go. I added it to the wrong workflow. How do you like that? So in that workflow, there was no relevant input, so it didn't refresh it. Okay. So we'll reload that, and we'll say eat breakfast. Perfect. Okay, so now we're adding them, resetting our input, and we have all this data being saved here in our database. Oops. Perfect. All right, so now let's log out. And let's log Johnny in. All right, so you can see the list of to-dos is gone. We're only showing Johnny's now. And so he'll say, drink a pot of coffee as his first to-do, and eat breakfast, and then go for a run. All right. So, you know, we've got a little basic to do here, and we're just going to make sure this refresh is running when the user's logged out. And actually, we got let's just see here. You're not really going to have a user, you know, logging out and someone else logging in right behind them generally, but let's reset this group after we refresh this this Xano query here. Oops. Reset a group pop up. There we go. So we'll do the group add to do, and hopefully that clears out. Let's just give it a quick pause. But yeah, I mean, generally you're not going to have like a user log out and someone else log right back in. And obviously we're pulling that data, but it was a little bit of a flash of the previous person's data, and we don't really want that. So, but I mean, these are things that you deal with, and things you have to work through, you know, when you use an external database. It's not as simple as working directly in Bubble. So we'll just hit log out here. Let's log Jill in, jill@test.com. All right, so that was much quicker, much much better. Let's see, say a good book, and then go to work at 1 p.m. That's a good life, right? All right, so we'll log Jill out, and we'll change this to Johnny. All right, perfect. So really the only thing we have left to do is we need to be able to delete these to-dos as well. So we can go here into Xano. We'll go back into our API. Well, in fact, let's just look at the to-dos so we can just see all those to-dos, right? Let's go into our API, and we're going to go to delete, and we are gonna let's go ahead and make this an authenticated endpoint as well. That just means that it can't be run, unless the user is logged in. And then this is already set up, so we're gonna send the ID of the to-do along with we're gonna send the ID of the to-do, through on the delete action. And that will automatically delete the record, based on that ID. So we'll just go back into our Bubble app and go to our icon. Let's hit Start Edit, and we already have a action element on the page for the to-do, so we can just use that same one. We'll say trigger action add to do, and just thinking through that, we should probably just name that action actually just to do, because it really just means this element is dealing with the to do data type. All right, so we're going to do this. We're going to use the delete method, right? here is a delete, and so this is the endpoint we want to use on this one. So it's going to be the to-do slash, and then we're going to add the ID here as the final detail. So we'll just remove this, and we'll say current sales to-dos ID. All right, so we're going to send a delete request and to this to-do endpoint, and we're going to pass that ID along. And we've already set up, so when and Xano action to do returns a response, it's going to refresh that, refresh the data for that Xano query. And so let's go ahead and try this. Where's my main page? There we go. So we're logged in as Johnny. So let's say we're going to skip breakfast tomorrow. So we click, it deletes it, refreshes our list of data, and we can go into our database here to our to-do and see that the eat breakfast for Johnny is gone. What else does Johnny have here? He had to drink a pot of coffee. Sounds very much like me. So here's drink a pot of coffee with Johnny. Let's go ahead and delete that one as well. Go into our database, refresh, and we see drink a pot of coffee with Johnny is gone. So anyway, hopefully that helps, guys. Just wanted to do, and this kind of turned into a long video, so over an hour at this point, I think. But yeah, just with everything that's going on, I thought it might be helpful to kind of show, like, what does it look like to work with an external database, and users and all that. And you know, if you're going to build an app in Bubble and use an external database or external backend, really, if you're using Xano, you've got a full backend that you're integrating there. And yeah, just kind of showing you what does that look like to build that, build a small little app in Bubble. And yeah, hopefully that's gives you a good taste of it. And let me know if you have any questions. But cheers.